So space and time. Before creation, there was only space all over. Thus, the being of God was a later development and it took some time for its appearance. We see space as endless and eternal, so we conclude God as well to be eternal. Time followed after God had come into being. Thus, space served as the mother of creation of God, and time was the negative state of it. So, if you look at God as being in the center, on this side, which is the positive side, is the space, on this side, which is the negative side, is the time. So, that's the perspective he's talking about. So, space is the mother of creation, of God also. And time is the negative side of it because God is like in the center. Space is on one side and time is on the other side. God is like in the center. Everything must have its end in endlessness. Motion was also there in everything, however fine or invisible it might be. Then one might ask, who created space then? The only possible answer can be that the need for creation of God of the universe led to be the cause of the existence of space. He is utilizing space as the reason for the creation of God. Now he is utilizing the presence of God as the need for the creation, need for the space to be present. The only possible answer can be that the need for the creation of God in the universe led to be the cause of the existence of space. Now he doesn't talk about the creation of space. He's talking about the cause of the existence of space. What can be the reason for the existence of space? Who created it? The question was, who created it? We said God was created by space and time was created by God. So there we are clearly saying creation. But in terms of space, we are just saying existence of space. What is the need for the existence of space? The need for the creation of God and universe was the reason for the existence of space. That is what he is talking about. He is not talking about who is creating the space. There's a big difference. He's only talking about why there was an existence of space. He's not talking about who created space. That is not answered. Just keep that in mind. It is and shall ever be, and is therefore eternal. The space is and shall ever be, and therefore it is eternal. Why not then worship space instead? Why to worship God? You can worship space as well, no? There is definitely a hint about it in the Rig Veda, but the mystery remains unsolved and unclear for want of precise clarification. Any questions on this?
So even if God was created after space, how can he be the reason for creation? Because he himself was created afterwards. So, or is it two different gods? Like, because at the top he told Isha.
No, it's the same one. The God that he's talking about is the Isha. Isha is the one who is the creator. You remember in the 10th point, we spoke about Ishvara.
Hmm.
So Isha means the owner of that is there. So Ishvara is the owner of the entire creation. Now here, that Ishvara at the 10th point, we are talking about the Ishvara of the manifest universe. Don't confuse this Ishvara with Shiva. People confuse Ishvara with Shiva. The literal meaning of Ishvara is the owner of that which is created by him. That is all that it means. So at the 10th point, you have the word Ishvara. That means he is the owner of entire manifest creation. But before the creation gets manifested, we have the Avyakta Sthiti, we have the central region, the Hiranyagarbha, where the entire universe is in a dormant form, or it's not yet manifested, or in an unmanifest form as yet, so to say. Now, this Isha that he's talking about is the Isha of the unmanifest universe. From space gets Isha, and then from Isha, you have every other thing, the time, the nature, everything else that is coming out. But that is not yet manifested fully in terms of the way that we see the planets, the stars. That manifestation has not yet occurred. That is a manifest universe. Now, what would happen when the stars and the planets, everything disappear? Do we mean to say that we are already gone to the center? No, not yet. When the stars and the planets, everything disappear, we have not yet reached the center. We are still in the realm of the unmanifest universe now. So there are two kinds of universe, a manifest universe and an unmanifest universe. Just remember that. When we talk about universe, we are talking about one manifest, other one is unmanifest. And Krishna also says that only 1/4 of my universe is manifested. Only 1/4. The 3/4 is still unmanifest. Now it's very difficult to work out whether this unmanifest is something that's going to manifest in the future, or this unmanifest is the basis and the support for the manifest universe. We don't know about that. But one thing is for sure, that even in the unmanifest universe, there is still activity. When we talk about manifest, we are talking about in the context of the five senses. That is what we are talking about. So when we talk about unmanifest, it is beyond the grasp of the five senses. That's all it is. In that context we're talking about. We are not talking about from a microscopic level. Because from a microscopic level, even in the unmanifest universe, there is matter. You might not be able to see and feel, but there it is. Okay? So always have this correct perspective that manifest and unmanifest is in the context of whether it is feelable and graspable by the five senses. That is what it means. So in that context, the Avyakrita or the Antaryamin, the Hiranyagarbha, they are all part of the unmanifest universe. 10th point downwards is the manifest universe. That's why from the 10th point downwards, there is the Ishvara, who is the Lord of the manifest universe. This has nothing to do with the Shiva that we talk about. Does it make sense? So this Ishvara at the 10th point and downwards is separate, different one. This Isha that he's talking about, which is come from the space, is a different one. This is the Lord of both the manifest and the unmanifest universe. Because without the unmanifest universe manifesting, unmanifest universe coming into place, there is no question of manifest universe. First, it is the unmanifest universe at the microscopic level. They all gradually coalesce together to become the manifest universe, which is graspable or palpable or feelable by the five senses. Okay. Any other question? Bharat, you're nodding your head like this. So the breeze was flowing towards me from you. Any questions? You are holding back.
No, sir, no. Nothing as of now.
Sorry?
No question as of now.
As of now. Okay. So you are still pondering something in the mind. That pondering is giving rise to this moment. Okay, Ganeshan, any question?
No, brother.
Provided you have woken up.
So this is, we spoke about Saguna Brahma and Parabrahma. This is beyond Parabrahma we are talking.
So, one way of looking at this, I was just discussing with my preceptor about this, about space and God. You remember yesterday we spoke about the center, the latent motion, and the will, the dormant will, as being one. You remember that? We spoke about it yesterday. Now look at it this way. Space and God are nothing but space. If you want to add, if you want to, they are both one only, space and God. The difference is that compared to space, God has some dimension. You can say that it's a dimensional space. That is God. So the space, entire expanse is there, and I identify one point in that space. Now, when I identify one point in the space, now that has got dimension. The point in the space has got dimension. The space itself has no dimension, but the point in the space has a dimension. And that point in the space, from where the creation starts, is the God. In that way, we will be able to reconcile both. So there is infinite expanse of space, and there is one point which is identified in space, and that becomes dimensional space. And from there, the creation starts, and that way it is called as God. That's one way of getting around this issue of space and God. Go ahead, Ganeshan.
So there could be many points.
Definitely. That's the whole point of it. So there could be many points. In other words, there could be many universes. Like there are many worlds in a single universe. In the infinite space, there could be many points. And each of these points can give rise to a different world or different universe, which can have multiple worlds. In other words, the life cycle of each of these universes is different. Although each of these universes is manifesting at one dimensional space, at one point in space. Now, this point in space is what the science talks about singularity. Many times I wonder about the concepts that the scientists put out. It all seems to correlate too closely with our concept of what we have in Hindu scriptures, especially in Upanishads. It almost feels like they have actually renamed the whole thing and then put out a theory as, of science. Is what it feels like. Now we are talking about a point in the space. Now they call that a singularity. Now it's a single point. You give it a different name. So old wine in a new bottle. That's all it is.
Or otherwise, the old rishis are now scientists.
You don't want to give liberation to the old rishis. You want to compel them to be born as scientists.
Yeah, obviously they should have some past experience to come and.
Just remember that. But anyway, they are both closely related. So that's an interesting hypothesis. So the current scientists are those rishis who have forgotten their past rishihood. They have become scientists. Right? That is what we are talking about. So past rishis who have forgotten their rishihood, they will become scientists. But anyway, interesting thought though. So in other words, the current scientists who will forget the sciencehood will eventually become the rishis. Right?
Because eventually they are what they're doing is exploring only. Rishis also explored, these guys are also trying to explore.
Exactly. The only difference is the direction of exploration. The direction of exploration is external, one direction of exploration was internal. That's the only difference. So when you want to become spiritual, all that you have to do is change the direction of exploration. In that way, for us, psychiatry was the direction of exploration was inside or outside psychiatry. Inside, because it's about mind. In that way, I think we are slightly better off. Because anyway, the direction was internal. All that you have to do is external, extend that in the internal direction. That's all. Extend, not external. Extend that in the internal direction. Otherwise, people will get confused. So in that way, it's much easier actually for us. Because anyway, you're studying mind only. Now you study the other aspect of the mind. Why not? And studying the other aspect of the mind becomes Raja Yoga. In other words, for you, based on what Ganeshan said, all psychiatrists are past rishis. Right? Because the exploration is inside, no? And the rishis also explored inside only. So then the question comes, are some psychiatrists aware of their past rishihood? Quite possible. Okay. Anyway, think about it. It's interesting. Rishihood versus psychiatryhood versus sciencehood. Okay. Anyway, shall we continue? So this is how you relate the space and the God. This is one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is space itself is aware of that awareness of that entity which is the reality. In other words, what was there originally? Reality. The reality became aware of the space aspect of its own existence. The reality was the substratum. First, it became aware of the space aspect of its existence. Then it became aware of the time aspect of its existence. Then it became aware of the entire manifestation of its existence. This is the second way of looking at it. So the reality is totally unaware of the space also. It has no concept of space per se, no awareness of space also. That is reality. Then the reality became aware of its space. From the awareness of the space, then came the awareness of the time, and then the awareness of the creation. So space, time, and then creation.
In this context, when you say awareness of that, it means that was created.
It was already there. It is just that we become aware of it. That's all. Say, for example, let us take the example of sleep. You go to sleep. In deep sleep, you have no awareness of any space whatsoever. Nobody can remember anything, no? Nobody is aware of anything, not even the awareness of space. However, when the time comes for dreams, we become first aware of the space, the dream space. In the dream space, we get the dream time, and then we get the dream objects, the subject and the object. All of this put together is called as the dream world. Now you have to be aware of what exactly happens in dream to know how these things are manifesting in dream. This much is clear. Before dreams, there was no awareness of space. But when the time comes for dreams, the awareness of space comes in. After the awareness of space comes in, then rest everything, the space dream, the space, the dream subject, the dream object, the dream time, dream world, everything comes into existence. Now, since the dream world has all of these things, the dream space, dream time, dream subject, dream object, we feel that while we are dreaming, we are experiencing the dream as real. We don't think the dream as unreal while we are dreaming. We think that it is real. Only when we wake up into this state, we think that this is real, that was unreal. Can you see? So, in other words, if you were to wake up to that state of existence, which is beyond the awareness of space, then you will feel that that is real. And this entire expanse of the space, time, and creation is a dream. Does it make sense? Look at meditation. When you close your eyes and sit for meditation, you are not aware of the internal space. All that you are aware of is the external space. But as you close your eyes and start going into yourself, you start becoming aware of the first thing, which is the dream space, the meditative space. That's the first thing you become aware of. You start feeling that you are going in. When you say that you are going in, where are you going? You are going into that space element of your own existence. Right? Now, when you go into that space element, then you start experiencing certain things. You start experiencing thoughts, you start experiencing conditions, you start experiencing various things that we have spoken about in the context of the samskaras and in the context of the consciousness. Now, look at it from a logical perspective. Do you think that you will be able to experience any of these things if there is no space at all inside? And then you will say sometimes that I was lost in the internal space. I was totally lost. I was inside, but I was lost. You will not say I was outside and I was lost. You will just say that I was inside and lost. And sometimes even this concept of internal external is also gone. You just say that you are lost. Can you see? So there the question is, have they gone into a level beyond the level of awareness? And we know that every time we touch the super consciousness, we are beyond the level of our conscious awareness. And then that super consciousness now comes into the realm of awareness, it becomes part of the consciousness. That's what we read in Heartfulness, we know. The way that you are all keeping quiet and staring at me just indicates that whatever I'm talking about is gone. You don't remember consciousness and super consciousness? Super consciousness is that realm which is beyond the conscious awareness. When we meditate, we start dwelling into the realm of the super consciousness. Initially, when we dwell into the super consciousness, we are totally unaware of it because it expands, the consciousness expands into the super consciousness. But that super consciousness, we are not aware. But eventually, that part of super consciousness, we become aware. Now, that part of the super consciousness is now part of the conscious awareness. The consciousness has expanded. That is what happens. That's the journey of spirituality. Okay. So this is what is supposed to happen. So this is a second way of looking at it. That the reality is beyond the awareness of space. From that reality, first we get the awareness of space. Then we get the awareness of time. Then we get the awareness of creation. As and when each of these things are created. Now look at this concept to make you a bit more confused. There was this external space, the infinite space, and we spoke about one point in that internal infinite space that became the center. Right? Now, when we say that the creation came about, then the time came, then the external world came, universe came. Now, this time and universe, did they actually start occupying the space which was already there eternally, or it created its own space and started expanding? You got the question? There is this eternal space. One point is the point of singularity or God. Now, God started creation. Time came and the external universe manifested. Now, when the universe manifested, this time and universe, did it occupy the eternal space which was anyway there, or did this create another space?
It is using the existing space, like a
Why do you
balloon.
feel so?
Like a balloon, when you blow it, we have an external space. When I blow it, it is expanding with the space only.
Correct. But the balloon is not empty. The balloon is not empty. You are blowing air into it. Likewise, when the creation happens and there is expansion, there is something that is actually getting blown into it, into the universe. Right? And that material is called as the ether. And we confuse the space and the ether as one and the same. When we talk about 5 elements, we talk about 5 elements in the context of this. And the 5th element, we say
Agaya.
Akasha. And Akasha is interpreted as space also, ether also.
Correct.
So Akasha is not space there, it is ether. Right? So ether element is different, and the space that we are talking about, the eternal space, that is different. It is not eternal ether, it is eternal space. So there are two different things. Although many times when we use the word Akasha, we mean both space also, ether also. In other words, I'll come back to the same question I asked. The space was there when the single point got blown out as the universe. What was there was not the space, but the ether. But the ether expanded into the space. Does it make sense? So you have now 3 possible conceptualizations. Now, if you go back to Yoga Vasishtha talks about the space as again being eternal and being infinite. And Yoga Vasishtha talks about 3 levels of space. We have spoken about it. The Bhutakasha, Chittakasha, Chidakasha. The Bhutakasha is the physical space that we feel at the physical realm. The Chittakasha is the mental space. How it is it is the Chidakasha, which is the heart space or the soul space, which is infinite. Okay. Then you have the mental space, which is derived from the soul space. Then you have the physical space, which is derived from the mental space. The space is one, but it is felt at 3 different levels. At the heart level, it is felt as one. It's called as Chidakasha. At the mind level, it is called as felt as Chittakasha. And at the physical level, it's called as Bhutakasha. Now, we feel that the Bhutakasha is infinite. Right? In other words, it's become topsy-turvy. This was eternal. Then the mental space was a derivative of this. And then the physical space was a derivative of this. Now, what has happened is, since our attention is turned outwards, it appears that this infinite space, which is the background, is projected out. The concept of infinity is projected out into the physical space, and for us, the physical space appears eternal and infinite. Does it make sense? You are like reversing the equation. This is infinite. Then there is another infinity, which is the mental space, and there is this third infinity, which is the physical space. As far as we are concerned, the physical space is infinite. But as far as we are concerned, the mental space and the heart space is not infinite. Yeah, it's there in one corner in me only. Right? We look at the heart and say, this is heart is this only. How much space can it have internally? Mind is this much only. How much space can it have? So in other words, we feel the external space is eternal, infinite. The mental space is less compared to that, and the soul space even less compared to that. Well, actually, it's the reverse of it. Can you see? And this is because our attention is turned outwards. When the attention turns inwards, then we see that this entire physical space is nothing but a small component of that mental space, and that mental space itself is a small component of that heart space. The equation reverses. So this is again something that we talk about. I think there is one story of Chudala in Yoga Vasishtha. So we can read about that. And that's a very interesting story. It talks about these three aspects of space. So the physical space, the mental space, and the soul space or the heart space. Bhutakasha, Chittakasha, Chidakasha. For a person who is aligned to physicality, the physical space seems to be infinite and eternal. For a person who is aligned to mental level existence, the mental space appears to be eternal and infinite. For a person who is aligned to the spiritual realm, the spiritual space appears to be eternal and infinite. But is that the reality? No. We have to go beyond the realm of the Chidakasha also. Then we stabilize in reality. Remember, the center has no differentiation. It is outside the bounds of the space and time. That is what we say. The reality is outside the bound of the time and space. See, so much is there about space and time. No wonder all the scientists are also scratching their head. Like our Ganeshan started scratching. What is this? I was about to say scientist, then Ganeshan started scratching. But these are all things to kind of ponder about and eventually try and see whether we can actually get some kind of hint based on our experience. Of course, our experience of dreams is there anyway. Now, tonight, when you start going to sleep, be aware where is this dream space coming from? Initially, when I told people about awareness, they stopped sleeping. Because in order to be aware, you have to be awake, no? You cannot sleep. So that way we will not develop awareness. We have to go deeper into meditation, and in the meditation, if we are aware, then we will learn that even in sleep, when we go deep into sleep, we can be aware. It's a meditation that will helps you to develop the knack of being aware in sleep. Waking state awareness will not give you the knack of developing that awareness in sleep. Okay, Ganeshan wanted to ask something.
No, I am just recalling what you have mentioned. The entire space in that one of the point, a creation started and created a space. In that, we started forming the ether and other senses, right? and we have derived from that original space to this one, but we are utilizing the smaller portion to discover the highest one also, right? The
Last
mind. I am
sentence we
talking about the
did.
mind.
The last sentence, just repeat the last sentence.
We create the ether. Within the ether, we have the remaining remaining four senses, right? And from there, the mind and the heart, which you mentioned, we are using the same thing to rediscover what is the original space.
Exactly. That's what. That is why Sahajmar uses the word invertendo. We don't create anything. We stop our creation, utilize what already is there by God, given by nature, and then try to reach our original state. That's what we are doing. That's why Sahajmar is very quick in giving results. Because all that we do is we tap into what is already there. Why unnecessarily put extra effort and strive? There's no need to do that. In that way, no wonder there are many people, when they progress in Sahil Marg, Lalaji keeps scolding. Everyone has become lazy. And somebody could have told Lalaji, we have become lazy because we have been made lazy. In the sense that we don't create anything, we don't strive for anything, we get everything easily by tapping into what is already there. Don't you think we will become lazy or not? Right? That's why we are all lazy. So nobody answers Lalaji like that. Maybe if Lalaji had asked the question to all of us, I think we would have said that. The way that you have created this method, we don't need to do anything. We just need to sit, close our eyes and sit. You will do everything for us. Why will we not become lazy then? Right, in the house, if mother is doing everything for the baby, do you think that the baby will be very active? The baby will be very lazy only. Right? We can check the two babies we have got here. Our Gopal Krishna and Bharat. Are they very active at home or are they very lazy at home? In general, see, the human tendency is if somebody is doing something for us, we tend to be lazy. Right? That's a human tendency as such. So likewise, when many things master do for us, sometimes we become lazy. And this is one of the things that is discussed quite a few times in 1944 Whispers, that everyone has become lazy. And Babaji finds out a technique how to get rid of laziness also. A technique for getting rid of laziness. So it's interesting. Okay, coming up to 7:25, our other batch will be waiting. Okay, we will catch up. We only finished one paragraph. This is what happens if you go to the depth of it. We'll only finish one paragraph every day. Bharat, are you confident that we'll finish everything?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let us all derive comfort from Bharat's confidence, and hope that we'll all finish the book. Seri hagare. Okay. Have a nice day. We will catch up tomorrow morning then. Okay. Namaste.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So remember the science hood, the rishi hood, and the psychiatry hood.